everyone, very lovely to be live with you today. My name is Val, I'm a naturopath, and today we will be talking about sugar cravings and how to combat them. If you're here live with me at the moment, let me know, pop in some comments down there, or ask me questions throughout. We're going to see the symptoms, what are usually the side effects of having a lot of sugar. We're also going to discuss how to actually overcome it, especially during this sensitive festive season when we know we're going to be tempted and we need to have our own interests in mind to make sure that we're stepping into 2024 with your goals, with your self-respect, with the respect for the body, right? So sugar cravings, expectations, addictions, this is especially useful as towards the end of the year, and you might be noticing that you are putting on weight, that you have anxiety, irritability, you might be feeling particularly tired and having brain fog, hair fallout. Amongst all of these symptoms, you know that sometimes you're craving these sugars, and this sometimes is actually on a daily basis. It can even happen several times a day. Thank you for joining me, and a little bit about myself before I actually dive in. So I'm a naturopath. I've been in practice since 2018. Had several different experiences in really specific niche industries in naturopathy, and at the moment you can see me online or in St Kilda and Geelong, and this is Victoria for those of you who are watching me Australia wide. So what sugars are we going to particularly focus on? This might be craving chocolate, cookies, cakes, lollies. This might be ice cream. This might be some sugary sweet drinks, energy drinks for that matter. Oh, we really like hot chocolate, right? Marshmallows. Who asks for that extra marshmallow when you're getting yourself a coffee or a hot chocolate from the cafe down the street? So the list goes on. There is a lot. I'm going to focus on the refined sugars for today. But in saying that, we do have dairy as a part of it. You would have seen me rumble on that earlier in the month. We're also seeing white rice a part of this because yes, this is also glucose, right? So there's actually a lot, but let's start with the beginning. Let's start with actual simple refined sugars. We do know that this actually sparks your entire brain, right? If we have addictions like alcohol, if we have addictions like smoking, if we have addictions to a bit more severe substances, sugaring is amongst them, right? It's actually quite difficult for the body to release that because every single time you consume sugar, it's releasing dopamine in your body. So the dopamine rush is constantly something that your body becomes dependent on, right? Similar to you scrolling through clothing or websites or social media. This also releases dopamine, so it actually can be quite a stimulant for the brain. There is a but. By the end of the day, that dopamine is gone, so you can't actually get yourself to do what you would like to do overall. And this is where we're looking into, having things like, how do I overcome this? What do I actually do in order for me to stop this addiction? Sugar addiction. So there's a whole heap of them. Well, let's first of all start with the symptoms. You're having croissants, you're having some cakes, or it might be a sugary drink. You'd usually notice that you're a lot more thirsty than you usually would be, right? So excessive sugar intake can cause dehydration, and that can actually lead to thirst, and your body is trying to balance out the acidity. Every single time you have those sugars, you'll be quite acidic. Your body continues to get a bit more toxic, right? So in order to dilute it, in order to excrete it, your body will ask for more water. Interesting fact here is that if you have been suppressing your thirst, let's say for several years, you won't notice that you're thirsty. The brain will not send you that message. It'll send you a message that you're hungry instead of actually telling you that you need to drink water. But this is how we usually will dilute that really high amount of sugar. If you've ever seen people overdo it on cakes, they actually feel quite tired 20 minutes later. They want to lay down or might even fall asleep. Frequency in urination. This is a really important sign of that we're overdoing on sugars. Similarly, right, we're having a lot of toxins come in with that sugar and your body wants to clear that out. Also, this is one of the signs of the diabetes. So high sugar levels in the blood result in increased urine production, leading to more trips back and forth. And if we're thirsty on top of it, multiply that by 2, right? So this is the body's attempt to remove those toxic substances. Fatigue. How can we feel tired from sugar? Well, sugar rush and sugar crush, right? What are we looking at? So while sugar provides a quick energy release, and it's really fantastic if you are hiking or you're running a marathon to have a quick little sip of something like an apple juice, right? Long term and ongoing, when you're not exhibiting as much energy and you're just stationary, you will feel tired. That sugar will be burned, you'll feel a rush, you'll feel excited, dopamine, endorphins, all of that comes in, and then it will crush, right? We've got nothing else to rely on. So excessive intake can lead to a subsequent energy loss, right? Causing that feeling of fatigue and lethargy. With every single time you consume sugars, you'll be depleting your body. Your body needs nutrients to remove that sugar from you. So that means that we're actually getting more and more depleted. That means next time you're having sugar or next time you're eating something else, you won't have enough digestive juices to break that down, right? Because you run out of nutrients that are needed to create those digestive juices. That lethargy and fatigue can show up particularly from 2 o'clock onwards. 2, 3, 4 p.m., pick me up. We're like, oh, I need something sweet, I need something sugary to get for the rest of the day. Really good indication that we're in a proper stage of addiction and sugar cycle. Sugar causes headaches, right? Inflammation. So we started with acidity. Sugar does have that acidity component associated with it. If you've ever seen those videos of how people washing their bathrooms using Coca-Cola or cleaning their rusted iron using Coca-Cola, legitimately this happens because of acidity. Similarly, in our belly, this will be doing the same. So because of that inflammation, that inflammation can go to anywhere in your body. It could be fibromyalgia triggered, it could be endometriosis triggered, but also people prone to headaches. This will intensify, this will prolong that headache and have a bit more frequency of those headaches occur. Another important aspect when we're talking headaches is blood sugar imbalance, right? So when we're going up and down all the time, the brain receives energy, loses energy, receives energy, loses energy. So because of the blood sugar dysregulation, we can end up with a headache and even a migraine. Cravings for sweets, and this is an interesting cycle. We're talking about what are the consequences of consuming sweets, and we can actually continue to crave them the more we eat them. This is a cycle of sugar consumption that can lead to cravings for more energy and more beverages, croissants, on and on. Once you start, you cannot stop. Being quite fair, all the food industries out there are pretty good in understanding how do they need to balance out all of those nutrients or I would say compounds in order to get you addicted. So your tongue receptors are activated, your brain is activated, and you keep coming back for more and more, right? So once we've had a sweet, the rest of the week is going to be a bit rocky. So it gets easier with time as you're going to come out of that sugar addiction. And as you mentioned before, irritability. Fluctuations in the blood sugar levels can affect our mood. So if you've ever heard a term hangry, if you are noticing that you are consuming foods and in between meals, you're getting a bit snappy, a bit irritable. We're looking into potentially hypoglycemia. So once again, we're looking into the pathway to diabetes, but it can also impact your mood. You can get angry, you can get cranky with your partner, and they might be like, oh yes, you need to eat because I'm starting to notice a pattern here. So that won't be obviously contributing anything quality to your work relations, to your family relations, and so on because of that mood fluctuation. We're also looking into brain fog. How many times in clinic do I hear that? Brain fog, brain fog, brain fog. What is this all about? Well, difficulty concentrating. Higher sugar levels can actually affect our cognition. And in the time, for a couple of minutes, you spark up, you bright up, but after that, ongoingly, you actually can't concentrate long enough. You're starting to lose words, you're starting to lose memory, you're not really with it, you're finding it difficult to focus, especially for long periods of time. So that can lead to quite a substantial impact on your work relations, on your personal experience of life, and your own memories, right? One of the most common concerns I guess I hear in clinic would be weight gain, right? We're looking into excessive sugar intake is associated with excessive calorie intake that you haven't burnt during the day. So this can cause obesity or it can cause overweight depending on how advanced that stage is. So a sudden and unexpected weight gain may be a sign of overconsumption. In that case, anything overconsumed can cause harm and can cause overweight. Whether it's fats that we're overeating, whether it's sugars, it can lead to that weight gain if you haven't burned that energy throughout the day. Insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. I'm going to cover this topic a lot more in January, so stay tuned if you have family history of diabetes, if you have been told you've got diabetes. But for the time being, for the purposes of what we're talking about today, high sugar intake has been linked to insulin resistance. What is insulin? Insulin is like a key to the cell. In order to open the door so the glucose can come in and you can create energy within the cell, right? So insulin resistance means the door no longer opens to the key. So we need to create a lot of keys to keep trying until we finally open. How do you feel? That means you've consumed something, could have been a croissant, could have been pasta, could have been an ice cream, and you want to lay down. And you're like, my energy suddenly zaps. I need to sit here for about an hour and digest what I've just had, right? A lot of the time, this will be confirmed with a blood test showing that yes, we've got too much insulin. Too much insulin means we are in insulin resistance. This can eventually impact the degree of glucose in your blood. Now, your body doesn't want too much glucose in your blood because it's acidic, it's damaging. You want it inside the cell so you can start creating energy. If this is not happening, we're looking into type 2 diabetes, and a lot of people will actually end up on medication, right? Natural medicine has a lot of answers here for you. They're a bit more specific as to what our topic for today will cover, but nonetheless, I do want you to know that there are a lot of little nutrients, little herbs that actually do help us. They're our companions. So elevated blood sugar levels, right? Eventually contributing to the development. Increased risk of heart disease. So diets high in added sugars, refined sugars, have been associated with an increased risk of heart disease. You might not notice it yet. You might be in your 30s, in your 40s, in your 50s, and you're like, you know what, Val, I don't notice this increased risk, and that's fine. Natural medicine at its finest is preventing things from happening down the track, right? So if we do a blood test, if we do particular testing, functional testing, and I look at particular markers and I see homocysteine or C-reactive protein being through the roof, we're looking into increased risk of that heart disease that you won't even notice right now, right? So this can be linked to elevated blood pressure. This is one of your early signs of like, oh, I'm really feeling a bit anxious, a bit antsy-pantsy. I'm feeling the heart palpitation, tachycardia. Also, every time I go to the doctors, they tell me I've got high blood pressure. Or resting pulse is really high. That's another reason for us to start looking into that cardiovascular and what's going on with the heart condition. Triglycerides levels, something that doesn't get discussed quite frequently, but it is tested with your general practice and here at Naturopathy. Triglycerides will be a really good indication for that heart disease that can contribute to problems down the track. Prevention is best, right? It's a lot easier to prevent things from happening down the track than actually end up getting ill and having to take time off work, time off your family to recover. Dental issues. Oh, that's a sweet one. No one talks about it enough, except for the dentist, of course. Sugar is a leading contributor to tooth decay and cavities. Now, I'm going to tell you that it's not only sugar, but coffee as well. Acidity in general. When bacteria in the mouth feed on sugar, and they do. We have bacteria everywhere in our body. We have it on our skin, we have it in our gums, tongue, inside the belly, every single cavity you can think of, it's everywhere, right? So there are good bacteria and bad bacteria. You might be familiar with that already. And when we are looking into feeding that bacteria sugar, it starts to perpetuate that negative or bad bacteria, right? It continues to feed on it, and that process creates more acidity. That acidity erodes the tooth enamel and we're leading to dental problems. A lot of the time you'll be able to see just socio-economically, right? We're going to an area where people have been less fortunate for education, for quality of food, for quality of water, and they have been living on cakes, they have been living on chips, they have been living on sugary drinks, won't name the names, and we can see that actually they don't have a lot of teeth, or the tooth quality is really, really poor. People are starting to lose their teeth in their 30s. We can make these teeth last all the way up until 80s, 90s, and fingers crossed 100, right? But here we are seeing a whole generation of people losing their teeth a lot early on because we're just not aware. And this is one of my missions, to actually spread it out there into the wider community, so we are aware on the consequences as to what actually can happen with our teeth. And another little side note, teeth are very connected to our heart. A lot of studies now coming out on cardiovascular conditions and tooth decay and gum disease. So your health starts with the mouth, right? Not only just the hygiene, but also how long do you actually keep that sugary, that sweet item in your mouth? That all will contribute. So if you must, on the day, you have no choice, make sure you rinse your mouth with clean water as soon as possible, just so that it's not having an impact on your dentals, on your teeth. Insomnia and poor quality sleep. And I frequently see this in clinic. People will be like, oh yeah, my breakfast's fine, my lunch is fine, my dinner is good. Now, right after dinner, everyone's in bed and I'm having my dessert. And it might be a chocolate bar, it might be ice cream, it might be something sugary to drink once again. And we actually don't sleep very well. You might initially fall asleep okay, but you're tossing and turning through the night. You might even have insomnia. Why does it happen? Fluctuations in the blood sugar levels. Once again, they disrupt that sleep pattern. Your body's a bit confused. It's like, well, you've given me all this sugar. I'm actually ready to run. Take me to the gym, right? Take me around the block. I've got the energy. I need to burn it. What do? We're like, no, you sleep. And then we wonder why when the alarm goes off in the morning, we're actually not ready to bounce out of the bed. Did anyone notice that this resonates with you? Does this ring a bell? Can you tick some of those items that we've just discussed and you're like, oh yeah, Val, you speak my language, keep talking. So if that's the case, then what do, right? Reducing sugar cravings can be extremely challenging. All the way back to our earlier conversation, this is an addiction, right? It takes time. So my approach to this is substitution. We're not taking this away from you, because the brain will freak out and it will reject it. We're substituting, right? We're going to look for alternatives, healthier alternatives. We're going to taper you off. However, if you are really strong, you've got that willpower there, you have done this before, then let's go. So some of the strategic lifestyle changes can also help manage and decrease those sugar cravings. And here are some of the tips that I'd like to share with you. First of all, protein, and you've heard me say this time and time again. I will continue to say it. Whether you're vegan, vegetarian, or you are carnivore and you do consume animal protein, start your day with it, right? Actually have your breakfast protein based. What is the easiest recommendation I can give you without knowing your full case? Have a smoothie. Have a smoothie with a protein powder, right? Don't be shy. Chuck in like 3 tablespoons. So it actually counters the amount of sugar that we would have from, let's say, sugar that you add into your smoothie. It could be even fructose from your banana or from your mango. That protein takes longer to digest. If you recall, sugar 20 minutes burnt, right? Similar with fats we actually absorb quite quickly, but with the protein it can take us up to 48 hours to process that. Not every protein, but some of them, right? So it's actually consistent release of energy throughout the day that reduces not only your hunger but also your sugar cravings. You're now in a position to make a better decision just because you started your breakfast with a smoothie with protein, with an egg or an omelette, and eventually my advanced clients, they end up having, their dinner for breakfast. So that could be someone with salad or a casserole or a soup. And in a lot of Asian countries, they actually do. They don't understand our breakfast with waffles and pancakes and all of that. They do have a soup, or they'll have a stir fry with some meat. So this is our perception and our conception on how do we start the day. Now that I've spoken about the breakfast and the protein for breakfast, I also want you to include that protein throughout the day. So if you're snacking and you're like, oh, Val, I really want something right now. It's 12 o'clock, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4. What do? Get yourself a protein bar to start off with, right? Now, there are a lot of varieties, so when you're ready, start reading the ingredients. Make sure they're the best quality that you can afford on the day. But nonetheless, I want you to start balancing those meals properly. 50% of your plate protein based, right? If we're vegan, what do? We're looking into chia seeds as your first go to. We're looking into nuts and seeds. We're looking into flaxseed as well, just to give you that fat and protein content in the right amount. I'm not a big fan on legumes, but legumes just one day I'll tell you why. Probably don't have enough time today for that. But for that matter, if your belly tolerates it well, if you feel good, then this is chickpeas, lentils, and such. These can be beans, balancing out your rice, for example, on a day, right? That glucose overcome, getting that fiber in, getting that fat in. Also, this can be protein-rich snacks throughout the day, like a Greek yogurt. It could be nuts, it could be seeds. Protein helps you keep full for longer, and this prevents a rapid spike in blood sugar levels. So actually stops that irritability, stops that hangry state that we've discussed, and stops that brain fog. Once again, stay hydrated. So drinking plenty of water throughout the day, and you've heard this from every radio and every TV station these days. So sometimes thirst can be mistaken for hunger, right? Remember when I was saying that if you have not been drinking enough, your body will stop sending you that message. It'll send you a message that you're hungry instead. So this is where I want you to make sure you're hydrated. If you need some assistance with that, reach out to me. We can do the math, how much water you actually need. But on average, you would have heard this is about 8 to 10 glasses a day. Set up an alarm. It's much easier to begin with those healthy routines when you've got an alarm in front of you. And another little tip, you are having some of that water, a little pinch of sea salt into it, a little squeeze of lemon, and suddenly you're not craving those sugars as much. Sleeping is my next recommendation. Actually getting enough sleep, and this is anywhere between 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night. Lack of sleep can stimulate hunger because we don't have enough energy. We haven't recovered properly at night. So we will be hungrier during the day. You will be eating more food during the day because you haven't slept enough. And it will start contributing to some of the hormones like cortisol, which can also lead to weight accumulation, and it will increase the cravings for sugar. Your body needs to survive today. It's no longer looking into tomorrow and the whole week and the rest of your life. It's like, today I'm low on energy, I need more food, and this is how you can end up with sugar spikes and actually cravings. That will also decrease your production during the day if you haven't slept enough. That will decrease your ability to go and exercise because, again, you don't have enough energy for this, right? And stress. Can't take away the challenges. They will pop up on and on, time and time again, but what we can do is learn to manage them. So have your own personal toolbox of stress management. Every situation will need a different kind of technique. It could be deep breathing, it could be yoga, it could be meditation, it could be a bath, it could be reading a book, it could be going for a walk, having a chat with your girlfriend, it could be actually living for your emotion and crying if it's substantial and intense, okay? Identifying any triggers and also addressing them. So if you know that there are particular events in your life that time and time again have caused you to overeat sugars, a type of ice cream that we've all seen in movies when there's trouble in the relationship, people end up having one watching a movie just before bed, so snobbing, crying themselves away. Know your triggers, know what is yours. Is it judgment from others? Is it being upset? Is it anxiety? So we can actually address it. If we don't know what we're working with, it will be trickier for you to actually maintain a healthier habit. Gradually reducing that sugar intake is my next recommendation. So instead of just completely cutting it out, remember it's an addiction and you might actually in 7 days run back at it and be like, oh, give me all this sugar that I haven't had for 7 days. We can gradually start to taper off. This will allow your taste buds to adjust over time. And not that I'm bragging, but when I have a carrot, it blows my mind literally, because that carrot is so sweet. When I have watermelon, it's so sweet. When I have beetroot, it's so sweet, because I have learned to not have a lot of sugar in life, right? Luckily, growing up, I haven't been exposed to it, and I think this is why I'm probably predispositioned to a lot more resilience than some of you. But nonetheless, when you start tapering off, you actually can properly taste the real food that you are having. Originally, even your ketchup, all of those sauces, Nutella, jam, and such, they're packed with sugar, they're packed with fats, which are clogging up your arteries, contributing to everything you and I have been discussing today. Let's replace it with dates for now, with honey, right? With some coconut flakes, so a bit of crunch there as well. Making your own bliss balls, that would be a really nice substitute, just to get you through that period when you were tapering up chocolate. Making your own gelato instead of dairy-based, sugar-based ice cream. Reducing the amount you have in a day. So you're like, usually I would have half a cake or a full cake slice. I'm going to have half today. But before I have that half, I have balanced my meals with protein throughout the day. I have stayed hydrated. I have slept well. So now it's not such a big challenge. And I'm not depriving myself of that joy and sweetness, right? I still have it, but I'm having a bit less of it. So with time, it'll become easier and easier to consume, and eventually your willpower will come through, and you'll be like, you know what? I put myself first. And last but not least, one of my all-time favorite recommendations is cinnamon. Remember that cinnamon sugar or all of those cinnamon buns? Consider actually buying some cinnamon ground and using it on top of your sweeteners. So if it's ice cream, sprinkle a little bit on top. If it's hot chocolate, sprinkle a little bit on top, and start adding it to your food. Up to, in some cases, up to half a teaspoon to a full teaspoon per day is encouraged. This will help your body process that sugar you've just consumed a lot quicker into your cells. Be mindful, if you are prone to hypoglycemia, that means low blood sugar levels, and you're experiencing those periods of hunger, you actually do need to have 5 regular meals a day, smaller sizes, but a bit more regular than most people who are now looking into 3 meals a day. But having that cinnamon, if this is your case, if you are hypoglycemic, it might make you really hungry. Look for protein. Before you jump into your sweets, have a can of tuna with some one rice cracker, for example, and a bit of avocado before you go into your cake, right? It will help you eat less of that sugary food, and it will help feed into your challenge, into your goal, into that self-respect that we started out with. So I hope these tips have been helpful for you, and if you have family history of diabetes, or if you feel like all of these symptoms that we've been discussing earlier have been present for longer than 6 months in your life, then you might actually benefit from seeing a natural healthcare provider or a naturopath like myself. I do offer free 15-minute discovery calls. I'll pop in a link in the comments, or you can find it on my website. But feel free to book in so you can ask me some questions so we can run through your personal case. This is in case you don't want to share it publicly, of course. And start making some right steps towards feeling better, having the best body, having the clear mind, feeling lighter and brighter, especially stepping into 2024. Our next Facebook Live, I'm thinking I'm going to do it in January. I will let you know, but as far as I've planned, it's probably going to be on diabetes. So we're continuing on that pathway of sugars, but we're going a bit deeper, a bit more specific. We'll also discuss increased weight, that sweet tooth, digestive hormones, all of the above. Okay, so lots more to come. If you've got some particular questions that you'd like me to cover for next time, let me know. Thank you for your time once again, and I'll see you soon. Bye.